Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Seventh, and welcome back to Conlanging the Fair. Today we're jumping off from where we were last time and thinking more on word structure. So I'm going to be bringing you back to primary school English language for this one, using some fancy words for things, but I'll try and explain it into something where the general person will understand. And for that, we are adding a new sheet to this display today. I know, fun. We are adding something to put all of our word structure in. So I'm going to change the colour to this to a boring black so we can remember it later, and renaming it just a structure, because we'll jump back in here to do word and sentence structure later on. Now, to start off with word structures, we need to go back to syllables. You know that thing that your teacher made you clap your name to back in primary school? We're going a bit more fancy this time. Every syllable has three things. One we call an onset, which is like the starting sound of a syllable. The nucleus, which is usually a vowel or a letter acting as a vowel. And then we have the coda, which is like the end bit of a syllable. Now I'm going to bring out every artist's favourite drawing medium, MS Paint, for this example. Now let's use the English word of sugar, if this will work. There we go. There we go, there's sugar. Famously 2 syllables. But we are going to split it down the G here. So we have the sh sound, the U, and then the G. And depending on pronunciation, our second syllable starts with the G, then we have the A, and then we have the R. Now in this bit, we have our onsets of the sh sound here, and the G sound here. Our nucleus of the U and the A, and we have our coda of the G sound on this side and the R sound on that side. Now, these syllables, well, this side we have a consonant, a vowel, and a consonant. And on this side, we have 2 consonants, well, the S and the H, which is kind of just one consonant sound, but we're going to do 2 here. We have our vowel, and we have our consonant. This sort of key here is how we will write how our syllables are formed. Now you can have it in any orientation. You could even have some syllables that don't follow your rules, because look at the English language, it looks like it robbed a bunch of different languages in an alleyway. So these rules that we're making today can work for some words, not for others. It just kind of depends how you want to roll with it. So we're going to have a syllable and a word, which, actually no, we're not going to call it word. We're going to have a syllable limit, which is basically how many syllables max do we want in a word, or how many syllables max that the people speaking this language will be bothered to say before they start shortening the word down. Now, the way that I wrote this here, we could kind of shorten these two down into bracket, C, bracket, C, V, and then C again. I know it might be hard to see that, but the bracket here shows that sometimes we have two consonants, sometimes we have one, but we always have one consonant, one vowel, one consonant here. So, over on this side, where we get to choose really, which is entirely up to how you want your language to sound, and it's entirely up to how many times you're actually going to listen to this. Each syllable in mine are definitely going to have a vowel in them. It kind of gives the word its structure. And I want it to end definitely with one consonant. I think I'm going to throw maybe a second one in there if I feel like it. But, we're definitely going to start with one consonant. Now that I've got kind of how I want my syllable structure, let's have a look at how many syllables that we want. Now, you could put a syllable limit of 1, but that's really going to restrict you on how many words that you can create with all of your consonants and vowels, and what we're going to go on to in a bit and talk about consonant clusters. So, I'm going to put a syllable limit of 5. Because my society lives forever. They've got enough time in the day to pronounce a word as long as they want. And this will give me enough variations to build up a robust language. But I don't want to think of so many syllables just to create one word, then check my bank of words and realise, oh my god, I've used this word before, because that's my word for land, when I'm thinking of a word for a bird, for example. That's not helpful at the end of the day. But a sort of, I would say mid-syllable limit. Because a lot of kind of long words in English are like 4 syllables, even if they're like 9 letters. So I think 5's a good standpoint to start with. But now we need to figure out which sounds are we putting on the onset, which ones are we using for the nucleus, and which one we're using for the coda. Which I think we're going to have to go back to our sounds. Because if you look over here, not the easiest thing to read. If you put all of these together in a sentence, I don't know if there's going to be a lot of people that aren't linguists that are going to know what you're trying to write. Or people who haven't studied a language that uses some of these symbols, like some of the Scandinavian languages, or Greek and ancient Greek, are going to know what sounds these make. So, we're going to have to make a code of what the IPA one says, and what IPA symbol you're going to use, and which of your keyboard you're going to use. Now, I'm going to just use English letters because that's my native language and the type of keyboard I have. But I will jump back to you once I've had another look at the IPA the sound-based one that we used last episode to make sure I'm getting the right sounds for each letter, and I will come back to you when that's done. And now we're back. As you can see, I've sorted the script form out here, and having a lot of sounds that are similar did make this a bit difficult, especially in the vowel section here. It was a lot of, is this the symbol for this sound or that sound? And as you can see, we've got a German character, the A with an umlaut on top, and we have not changed this character. That's just because it sounded a bit too much like a different character, but not exactly. And that was honestly just going to annoy me when we were sorting out writing for stuff. And I'm sure it hasn't crossed your notice that we have an asterisk here for this sh here, the C with a kind of tail thing. And the way I was originally thinking of sorting this sh thing out was how in ancient Greek there's two different S's. Let's get MS Paint back out and just... Okay, that did not fix anything, so we're just gonna undo for a while. Sorry if you can hear my mouse clicking. Here we are. Now, with ancient Greek, there's two different S's. There's this one that looks like an O that you're joining onto a different letter, and then there's this, which kind of looks a bit like a deformed S as I've wrote it, but it's more like that here, which is a C with a little tail on the end. Now, the ancient Greek, this S here is for inside a word. Can't think of any ancient Greek off the top of my head, sorry. But this S here is for the end. Now, let me see if I can remember. No, but a lot of masculine nouns ended in os, which would be an O and an S at the end, which I know that actually looks like an S. That very much did not help. There, that might be better. But yes, a lot of masculine nouns ended in OS, like didaskalos, which, don't quote me if I'm wrong, or you can have a bit of a Google, but if I remember correctly, didaskalos was teacher. Don't quote me on that. Have a bit of a Google yourself. So that was my original thing, was just let's do this for like the onset, this for the coda. But I just think, well, we could still do that. We could. We would just have to do two different symbols for them when we create our script later. Which is... no. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this for either the onset or the coda, and this for the other one. But to get each... well, no, we can put all of these into our structure where we feel like they should go. Our onset, our nucleus. There we go. And our coda. Now, all of our nouns are probably going to go here, which I need to go back and change something here. See our E there, and our oo. They are gonna get very annoying when they're in the middle of, well, if we choose a tense where, in this version of the past tense, all of our vowels are going to change to E. Now that's just going to be annoying, isn't it? If we've got a 5-syllable word and we have to change all of them to E, that's going to be really busy to look at when we're still running with our keyboard version of all of our sounds. That's just going to be annoying until we figure out our script. So, for this now, I am also going to change this to a letter that also makes this sound in certain situations. The letter Y. Because, like, with words like family, and that's the only one I can think of right now, but with words like family, the Y acts like an E sound. And to make everything a bit less busy, I'm going to use the Y version of it in the nucleus over here. So we're going to have Y, we're going to have the I, the A, I wish there was a way to split screen these two tabs. I'm sure there is. People out there with way better experience than me with Sheets or Excel will probably be able to tell me an easier way. So we've got the Y, the E and the A, and the I. No, I've missed out the E. E, the oo. And now we just copy and paste the other two in. The A with an umlaut, which is more of an air sound, if I remember correctly from German. And our other one that we have to copy and paste, which I believe is in a lot of Nordic and Scandinavian languages. I would not be able to tell you the sound off the top of my head. I have to open up the IPA chart for this one every time, which is why it is good to have it up and about while you're messing around with things. Or just, if your keyboard doesn't come up with the A with the umlaut, just Google it and copy and paste it from the Wikipedia article, or the Wikipedia article, because it has the blurb right at the top where you can just copy and paste out of it and not feel guilty about opening a Wikipedia article. And here is our last vowel. Now, you don't have to have just vowels as your nucleus. Your vowels can go anywhere. They can be onset, they can be coda, but I personally like your nucleus to be a vowel. But we could, how about we throw in one of our sh sounds? We can always take it out later. That's the good thing about doing this digitally. We can always delete things, we can always add things in places, we can always go back. It's a bit more difficult to do that with paper because you're going to run out of spaces to cross out at some point. So let's put the sh sound in. Let's make it a bit fun. Now, you personally, when it comes to onset nucleus encoder, when you're building syllables, when we get to the word stage, you're gonna not put stuff together that you're gonna feel's wrong, or you can't pronounce between sounds, and that's fine. These aren't the solid, you have to use each of these nucleuses once, or you have to use all of these onsets at some point, or all of these corders at some point. Now, speaking of the keyboard, you see I've put the apostrophe for the glottal stop. You could also use a hyphen if you feel like it. A lot of fanfic sites use hyphens for the glottal stop, even if they don't realise it. Like a stuttering I sound, they always denote that with hyphens. That could be argued, glottal stop. Could be. So if you want to shove a hyphen in, if you just want to stick to an English script at the end, or while you're messing around with words, you can. I just prefer an apostrophe because it's not taking up so much space in a word. Now, with these glottal stops, we should probably think of a rule. I know I'm jumping around here, but think of a rule of when they're happening. Between consonants, between consonant vowel, vowel consonant, vowels. Now for this, I think we should put them, I'm just going to put it above the syllable here. That's not how you spell placement. But there's your placement. I'll fix that later. Don't worry about it. We're gonna have our C, our one for glottal stop, and then C again. Now, if you're putting an apostrophe in, just like that, it's not going to show up because it's probably a func doing like the fancy stuff with your spreadsheet. So what I do is I put a random letter first, then put the hyphen, and then we turn the letter white, or whatever your background colour is, and then you can't see it. That's how I did it on the start. Now back to onset encoder. With our onset, we can also kick sounds out of there, sounds in. I'm going to keep the A with an umlaut in the onset, because I honestly think that's kind of fun. And we can, well, to be honest, putting that air in the onset might make the sh make a bit more sense logically, but that's coming from an English speaking standpoint. You put your letters wherever you want. So now that I've started this with you guys, I am going to jump back in a bit, put all of my sounds where I want them to go, and then we might finally get on to consonant clusters. So I'll see you guys in a bit. And we are back. I know there's been a lot of stopping and starting this episode. I'll try not to do that as much in the later ones. But with the start, we've got a lot of adding to do to this spreadsheet. So it'll look somewhat like... So it will look something like this one when we're done. And all that jazz. And don't worry, I will not do something insane for this first one. I still have not finished this, as you can see by the adverbs being a mess. I've done a lot of connectives, some adjectives, got all my pronouns sorted, my articles, but it's gonna take a while for this to be finished, because there will always be more words that you have not thought of that you need to write an answer to. But hopefully towards the end of this series it'll look better than this one. So I think I've got all of the sounds here. As you can see, it looks a bit different. Wanted to fancy it up a bit to fit in with the sounds here with the grained white. So, as you can see, the sh in these two are the same one as with the A with an umlaut. Because, to be honest, you can put whichever sounds in whichever ones you want. I've only put all of the vowels in the middle because that's what I'm used to in an English language. There's someone, I think it's Artifexian again, who in his, where he tried to use as little vowels as possible, stuck an N in the nucleus section for some of his words. I might be wrong. I'll have a nosy and I'll link that video in the description for you. So, you can see with our syllables we have 2 consonants here on the coda. So we should probably stick some letters together and see if they will look good together. Now, sticking to, let's stick the Z and the H next to each other. There. That is called a consonant cluster, which means we unlock a new page for this one, sheet 3, which I am going to put in the same colour as the sounds. There, it might be a bit lighter. This is what happens when you don't remember what colour you put things. Here we are. Now I'm also going to rename it to Consonant Clusters. Now, we don't need to, well, we can call it that because we don't have to deal with the vowel for the coda. You could also, if in your structure you've got the 2 C's at the start, or if you want to put it in place in case you break the rules by putting 2 consonants at the start, you could also do the table that I'm going to do next for the onset. But for this, we'll worry about that later. If I feel like breaking any rules, I probably will. Not planning it for it now is something that I will complain about later, but let's get the coda sorted first. So, we've got the R, we've got our fancy sh sound, L, F and Z, and N and H, and H. Now we also do the same down the side. Now, this entire section is up to personal preference. There'll be combos that you personally can't pronounce or don't feel like they work in the language you're going for, or combinations you just don't like looking at next to each other. For me, for that last section, is any of our doubles here. I might keep the double L, I might not. But all of these doubles are just going to go for me, which we are going to do the same thing that we did for the IPA chart and just fill in black. Now I'm also going to do this section, font size it up a bit, so we can all see what's going on. Now, how I like to do it, because it looks the shortest, even though it's the same amount, is to go down and pick which letter goes first with your writing. If it's the R and then the sh sound, or the sh and then the R sound, it's something that you have to work with, whether you're going columns or rows. Now in this one, if I was going column first, it would be the R and then the sh sound. That's not an H. And then the sh sound, which can get a bit confusing, especially those of us who write left to right instead of right to left. So I am going to go in a rows manner. Start with the R first, the sh first, L, F, Z, N, H, and then go from there. I'm going to do this first row together, then I'm going to do, like I did last time, smash cut back to when it's all filled in. Alright, so this sh sound is different than our other sh sound because we're using our mouths differently. The other sh, the sh without the asterisk, this one is sh. Now this one here, without asterisk friend, is sh. No, that is not the sound at all. It is a sh with your tongue right up to the roof of your mouth near your teeth. Which I'm getting stage fright for saying. Not fun. So we are not going to do that raw. We're just going to miss out this column together, and I will do it myself, see if I can actually pronounce it without anyone listening. Now, R and L, rule. Sounds good for an ending to me, so we're going to keep that. And feels like I'm barking. No thank you, we are not having you either. Now that sounds like it would be a fun thing to mess with as like an article situation if we want those, or it's just a fun verb ending, to be honest. So we're keeping that. RN, run. I don't know if I like that, to be honest. I really don't know if I like it. We're going to have the RH though, because that feels right, the R. You're already making kind of like the H sound when you just say the R. So it might be a silent letter situation, like English is full of. Second thoughts, I don't really like the RN sound. So we're also going to black that out. Hopefully we come back with a lot more consonant clusters when I go through it. I won't do pronunciations of them all, because like I said, stage fright just for one sound. So I will come back to you in a sec, once that's all sorted. And we should pretty much done for the day after that. So I'll see you in a sec. And we are back. Now, it seems like I've accidentally created a silent letter. I know. People hate them when they learn words and when they learn English, but it's kind of just happened. This entire row here with H starting first, it's kind of just left the sound by itself, which I think's kind of fun. Like the hush, hush here. There we go. That's the sh sound that we're working with. That's just the hush, sh sound. There's not really much difference. Or the f, huff, or the hz, or the hm. Like, you have, like, the sense of a H being there, like the aftertaste of one. But it's mainly just the other sound being there. And for some reason, the Z sound has been quite friendly with these. I think it has the most consonant clusters. Maybe along with the sh. But that's not something that I was expecting. Now, you could, if you wanted to, copy and paste all of the ones there into our coda here at the end. I'm not doing that just because I can't really be bothered to. You can do that if you want. Do that if you want, if it makes it easier just to have one master document to go back to when you're collating words. But this works for me, just getting to the bit where I need a consonant cluster at the end, just jumping to the page and being like, which sounds work for this? Am I just going to keep this word one syllable? Am I going to add a couple others to see if that works? And if we're ending in a double consonant, do we feel like we need to put a glottal stop in just to break it up a bit? But that has been all from me. This has been Conlanging the Fair. Well, not really the fair. It's a bit of a grabber title of my fair-like entities of the other world. And I'll be sure to see you next time.